Oh my gosh. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Kristen and these are my currently inked pens for June 2023. My first inked pen is a carryover from May 2023. This is a Franklin Christoph Model 3 with a fine sig nib, and it is inked up with a May 2023 ink flight color, Sailor Shikiori Shito Shito. This pen will be inked up until I receive my June 2023 ink flight box, and then I'll test some new inks from there. You might notice that my other Franklin Christoph fountain pen is missing from this month's currently inked. It was inked up with Sailor Yorimiku Dategokoro, but I was still having some dryness issues. Sometimes it would write and other times it would not. So this is the only May 2023 ink flight color that I will be using for the first half of this month. The next pen for this month is the Aurora 88 with a fine 18 karat nib, and this one is inked up with Troublemaker Inks Milky Ocean. This is my bottled ink selection for the month. The next fountain pen on the list is my Twisby Eco with a medium nib. This one is inked up with one of my Inkvent colors for the month, Diamine Solar Storm. This is the Platinum 3776 Century with a soft, fine nib. I wanted to ink this one up with something that was pretty wet, a pretty wet ink, and that is my second Diamine Inkvent color, which is Diamine Pick Me Up. Super wet ink. It does have some sheen, but I have high hopes that it will be a good match for this fountain pen. It's also a scented ink. It smells kind of nice. Next up, we've got my newest fountain pen, the Montegrappa Elmo in Marshmallow with an extra fine nib. This just feels so nice. I love how it feels. This fountain pen is inked up with a special ink. Elizabeth, thank you so much for sending me a sample of Gerpin Larme de Cassis. I feel like I'm saying this more and more harsh every time I say it. Larme de Cassis. I'm excited for this one. We will all experience how this one writes together. Now, this next pen is my Lamy 2000 with its brand new extra fine nib. I'm so much more happy with this extra fine nib, but I still have yet to try this out with an ink that is not as wet as Diamine Writer's Blood. So this month, we shall see how it behaves with Ferris Wheel Press Double Raspberry. I didn't realize that I had two ink colors that were so similar lined up for this month, but we shall see if I like Double Raspberry better or Larme de Cassis, and I am looking forward to that comparison and how these two pens stack up against each other. They both feel really nice. This one is definitely a little bit heavier. So moving on, can you tell by the color of these three pens what I'm going to be looking at in the month of June? I didn't even realize how much I really do enjoy the color yellow. These make me happy. Just like my browns and my greens make me happy, my yellows make me happy. These warm colors, I just love them so much. All right, so this month I'm going to be taking a look at 3 yellow orange inks. And I really want to drill down on the specific shade of yellow, the types of yellow that I really appreciate, but something that's still legible, much more legible than Colorverse Dunhuang. So first up, we have the Franklin Christoph Model 3 with a medium sig nib. This is inked up with Van Diemen's Honeybee Eater Chin. European Honeybee Eater Chin. Now this is something that was pretty similar to Dunhuang, the color that I really love, but cannot use because it's not legible in my everyday writing. So I want to see if this is a color that would work for me. And I also put it in this pen specifically because it is a wet writer and it has a medium sig nib, which is it can lay down a good amount of ink. So hopefully this lighter color will work in this pen. The next pen is the Lamy Safari Mango with a fine nib. This is inked up with Stipula Saffron. Now let's see how this looks compared to Honeybee Eater Chin. So it's definitely a more orange color. It still has quite a bit of saturation, but still on the yellow side of things. Now this last one is the Kaweco Sport. It's a Cult Pens exclusive with a medium nib, and I've inked this one up with Octopus Fluids Orange. So we've got Octopus Fluids Orange, Honeybee Eater Chin, and then Stipula Saffron. I really want to know if I prefer something a little bit more yellow or if I want something a little bit more orange. But I do love softer shades of orange a lot more than the the punchy orange colors like this one. These are the 3 inks that I would really want to compare and contrast. All right, so let's get started with our writing samples. This is Iroful paper. This is Rhodia, Tomoe River, and Midori. Okay, so this is Iroful paper. I really like this ink. It just feels really good going down on the paper. This is wetter than I would have guessed. And I can actually feel the bounce. This nib is not like super flexible or anything, but it just feels like there's a give to the nib. I love it. Oh, I love how juicy this is. Oh, that's perfect. That just looks so good together. Oh, for those of you who requested Milky Ocean with the Aurora 88, ooh, good job, y'all. Good job. This is also super juicy. I love this. It's a lovely ink color. This greenish golden shimmer. This might be one of those chameleon inks. So I tilt it this way, you should be able to see that the shimmer looks green. But if I tilt it the opposite direction, you'll see like a golden shimmer. That's so cool. It's more of a blurple base color, but it has like a reddish brown sheen to it. And then you've got this green to gold shimmer. In comparison to the first 3, this is definitely an extra fine. And it just feels so nice and so smooth on this Iroful paper. Oh, it's just so nice. It's a steel nib, but it just feels so... I don't even know how to describe it. It's like this nib is sure of itself. Like there's just this sturdiness, this stable, I don't know. It just feels like it's gonna do its job. I love it. Oh, that's so good. There's definitely a lot more drag on this particular paper. Can you see what I see? It feels like this has the slightest bit of architect grind to it. Like my cross strokes are a little bit thicker than my down strokes. Let me just do this. It looks like it just has the most subtle architect feel to it. It feels good. I'm so glad that I have an extra fine nib now. That's very bright. It definitely has more shading. So a lot of the shading that you see here, I'm kind of seeing it also in the writing. I just have to keep an eye on this one because there's so much shading. I worry that over time, whether or not this is going to start feeling dry coming out of the nib. Yeah, it just looks so cool. And it looks so nice in the pen. I'm torn. I love how these have a little pinkiness to it. Like this stipula saffron looks so nice, but I really do like the brightness of the European honeybee eater chin. It's a 3-way tie at this point. Ooh, whoa. Yeah, I could definitely smell the ink. It's like something sweet. I've watched a few videos of people trying to describe or explain what they smelled with this ink, and it was just like sugar and chocolate, so like a tiramisu coffee type thing. This feels so much better this month than it did last month. So I really love how this ink is lubricating the nib. So it doesn't feel scratchy, it doesn't feel rough, and it doesn't feel like it's resisting the paper. This is the... Whoop. I do know that I'll have to be careful about having such a sheening ink. This is a brown color with like a greenish sheen to it. I'll have to be careful with it in this pen. Sometimes the nib dries out because of how thick the ink is. So I might need to find something that's a little bit less sheeny, but still just as wet. If you've got some recommendations, I know someone recommended that I use one of the platinum inks. They mentioned, what is it, Platinum Forest Black. I have Platinum Citrus Black, but I would love to try like the Platinum Lavender Black. That might be something to do. Okay, so before that, I need to get through this month. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing, this exact same thing on Midori, Tomoe River, and Rhodia papers. And I will be back when all of that is complete. Okay, so I am back with all of the writing samples completed. Cream Tomoe River paper, 52 GSM Tomoe River paper, Iroful paper, Rhodia, Midori. Overall, I'll have to say that I like Iroful paper. I love the shading on the Tomoe River paper, but I really do like, I guess, the overall feel of Midori paper. I can definitely see a difference between L'Arme de Cassis and double raspberry on the Midori paper. They look a bit darker on the Iroful paper. It looks like the ink colors are much more saturated, more vibrant on the Iroful paper. So it's a much bolder teal for the Shito, much deeper blue in the Troublemaker inks. Diamine Solar Storm looks pretty comparable, although the line thickness looks a bit thicker on the Iroful paper. Urbain La Ronde Cassis, that looks like a deeper color. Also, these colors look much more substantial. They lay down thicker lines on the Iroful paper by comparison. It's been a while since I've used Rhodia paper, but since I had some just laying around, I figured I'd try it out this month. I definitely see thinner lines than on the Iroful paper. So let's check out maybe the Midori. Pretty comparable, although Ferris wheel press double raspberry looks a bit, it looks like the ink spreads a little bit more. The line width is a little bit thicker on Midori paper than Rhodia paper. Let's take a look at Tomoe River paper. I'll say the colors look pretty consistent between Tomoe River and Midori. I did enjoy the feel of 3776 century on Tomoe River paper. I enjoyed using that here. And speaking of that pen, whenever I wrote with it, I definitely smelled the scented ink, the Diamine Pick Me Up ink. It smells really pleasant, but if you don't like scented inks, that's probably not one that you want to get. I do like this soft peachy orange in the Stipula Saffron, but I really do enjoy that color. It just has me worried that it's going to dry out at any moment. So for example, on Iroful paper, there is some harsh shading going on, like a line of demarcation between the lighter portions of the letters and where the ink pools. The Octopus Fluids Orange does shade a good bit as well in the Kaweco Sport. It looks like a really wet ink. Which one of these actually felt like wet inks to me? So coming out of the Aurora 88, Milky Ocean felt wet. In my other pens, I've never had the experience of Milky Ocean being a wet ink, but in the Aurora 88, it felt wet. Diamine Solar Storm was definitely a wet ink in the Twisby Eco Medium Nib. Octopus Woods Orange felt wet. European Honeybee Eater Chin was actually pretty good. It was a pretty good ink. But for some reason, this ink is a little strange to me. I see like this bright orange halo or edge around each of the letters, but the center of the line itself has a grayish color. It's creating like a very bright border and it leaves the desaturated yellow inside within the border. It looks super vibrant in the swatch. So where the ink pools, it looks desaturated. So I'm going to be adding a couple more inks. Just like last month, I'll be adding 2 more inks for my currently inked, and they will come from the June 2023 Ink Flight box. If you have any questions or comments about my currently inked for this month, let me know. I would love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining me for the June 2023 currently inked, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh.